Now the shocking verdict is in. While the nightmare of Obama's presidency is over, the lingering effects from his disastrous term in office carry on. His signature piece of legislation, Obamacare, is the primary tumor still afflicting the nation. This, despite years of promises and time for planning on behalf of the feckless Republican Party. While it's nowhere close to a repeal, one of the clowns responsible for the healthcare takeover has landed himself in hot water again. Remember Jonathan Gruber, the MIT professor who proudly proclaimed that the lack of transparency and stupidity of the American voter were critical in passing of Obamacare? Well, after screwing the entire nation, he's finally getting paid back a little for his deceptive practices. As reported at the Daily Caller, Vermont's Attorney General has settled the state's claims of fraud against Jonathan Gruber to the tune of $90,000. Gruber has worked for various states and companies as a healthcare consultant that specializes in the economic side of healthcare systems. He gets paid ridiculous sums of money for his work as well. In Vermont, he was contracted to help them overhaul their own healthcare system, getting paid by the taxpayers. But under the terms of the lawsuit settlement, he'll no longer work as the state's consultant and he won't accept any of the remaining payments he's owed, which amount to $90,000. In return, Vermont won't pursue legal action against him under the state's False Claims Act. Gruber was originally hired as an economic consultant to assess, examine, and provide economic models for a now-abandoned plan to roll out a single-payer health care system across the tiny state. Talk about doomed from the start. This single-payer scam, called Green Mountain Care, was the brainchild of the brainless, former Governor Pete Shumlin. After examination, Shumlin was forced to scrap the plan, as it was determined it'd be far too costly. Imagine that, government-run healthcare costing a lot. The lawsuit stems from Gruber's suspicious billing practices, as it appears he's good at bilking taxpayers and employers out of extra dough. After checking over the state's receipts, State Auditor Doug Hoffer, a Democrat, noticed Gruber's habitual overbilling practices and reported him to the Attorney General. The Attorney General, who's also a Democrat, concluded that Gruber did violate Vermont's Civil False Claims Act. Specifically, there were 2 invoices that caught the eyes of investigators and potentially more showing Gruber falsely charging the state for work that neither he or his assistants ever completed. Gruber is obviously smart enough to understand the rampant inefficiencies and lack of oversight in government. So it's not surprising that he'd try and pull something like this, as chances are he wouldn't get caught. Because governments in general are masterful when it comes to wasting tax dollars. Under the terms of Gruber's consulting contract, he was supposed to receive up to $400,000 for his policy advice concerning single-payer healthcare in Vermont. But he'll have to forfeit some of it thanks to the lawsuit. While the issue has been settled, Gruber denies he did anything wrong. But considering it's all Democrats that carried out this investigation on an ally, it's likely he's guilty. Nevertheless, Gruber deserves far worse for helping foist the yoke of Obamacare on the American people while laughing all the way to the bank with our tax money. Thank you for watching this video. What do you think about this? Share this on Facebook and Twitter along with your comments.